Now, Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna are now going after Walmart. This comes weeks after, of course, they successfully took on Amazon, or at least partially successfully took on Amazon and forced them to up their wages. Now, this new piece of legislation, this new campaign, is called the Stop Walmart Act. Now, what it would do is it would actually do something that's far better than the Stop Bezos Act. It would actually target their stock buybacks. Oh, that's interesting. Now, in a statement, Bernie Sanders declared that the Walton family, the owners of Walmart, must pay its workers a living wage. And the Stop Walmart Act would do just that. Now, in the statement, he says most Walmart retail workers are working for horrendously low wages with minimum benefits. Amazon did the right thing by raising their minimum wage to $15 an hour. Walmart can and must do the same. Now, Khanna's and Sanders legislation, Khanna, of course, is introducing it in the House. Bernie Sanders in the Senate would take aim at all companies with over 500 employees. So it's not just Walmart. And it would stop them from making stock buybacks if they don't pay their workers $15 an hour. Now, as the Washington Post reports, the Stop Walmart Act would bar big corporations from buying back their own stock unless they pay all employees, as I said, $15 an hour, provide them with 7 days of sick leave, and prevent CEO compensation from rising more than 150 times above median employee pay. So this is an excellent piece of legislation. This is far better than the Stop Bezos Act, which, of course, Bezos, what he did, what Amazon did, is they took away certain benefits. Now, in this piece of legislation, Sanders is like, okay, you want to play that game? Okay, well, this time, and by the way, this would affect Amazon as well. Let's say, okay, if you don't pay a living wage and guarantee a certain set of benefits and keep CEO compensation in check, then you don't get to do stock buybacks. Now, why is that so important? Stock buybacks are the main way of CEOs being able to get compensation. It is one of the biggest ways. In fact, after the tax cuts were passed, the Trump tax cuts, there were billions of dollars in stock buybacks. And of course, that led to a huge increase in CEO compensation. Now, I want to give you a quote here from Ken Jacobs, who talked to the Post on Wednesday. Now, he's the chair of the University of California, Berkeley Labor Center. Now, he estimated that lifting the starting wage of all employees to at least $15 an hour would cost Walmart $3.8 billion in revenue. Now, look, that's a significant amount of money, right? Small business couldn't do it. But Walmart, well, they took in $500 billion in annual revenue. $500 billion. So raising the pay of all their employees to $15 an hour only costs $3.8 billion. That is a drop in the bucket. They could do that. They could do that. They can definitely afford to do that. And so the situation is not because it's not that they can't do that. It's that they refuse to do that. That's why you have these pieces of legislation. That's why you have stuff like the Stop Walmart Act, why it should be put in place, which would be great. Now, Jacob said, to get to that quote, overall, the cost of Walmart doing this would be a tiny, tiny fraction of their revenues, while its impact on workers' lives would be huge. Now, look, right now, the average Walmart employee makes $11 an hour. Now, that's $19,000 a year. That is not very much. That's actually below the federal poverty line for a family of three. So those are poor wages. Those are, in Sanders' words, starvation wages, and we can do so much better. Now, in a blog post on Wednesday, Lenore Palladino, senior economist and policy counsel at Roosevelt Institute, and so you've got economists on board. He applauded the Stop Walmart Act as a necessary step towards curtailing the ever-growing gulf between executive and worker pay. He said, Walmart still pays its employees a starting wage of $11 per hour, a wage that company executives think is fair, which is not. If you go back and you look at wages versus inflation, or wages versus productivity, how we are way more productive than we've ever been, and yet wages continue to be flat and stagnant. Well, you'll see they're flat and stagnant, and something needs to change. And they're not going to change on their own. Now, Palladino continues. He said, never mind that the Walmart family is the wealthiest family in the country, and that the 6 heirs of the Walton Empire own more wealth than 40% of Americans. They also comprise the majority of the company's shareholders, sit on the board of the directors, and in part decide how much Walmart spends on its stock buybacks program. Now, how much did Walmart actually spend on stock buybacks? Well, this actually happened before the Trump tax bill. They were planning on spending $20 billion in stock buybacks. Now, how much, again, would it cost for them to raise the wages of their average employee to $15 an hour, which is considered the minimum living wage in America? $3.8 billion. $20 billion in buybacks, 3.8 to literally change the lives of millions of their employees. Think about it. Think about it. But they would rather choose profit over anything else. So now, Palladino, one more. He said, while Congress should ultimately pass legislation that would end the practice of stock buybacks entirely, bills like the Stop Walmart Act that continue to highlight the link between rewarding shareholders and wages that aren't keeping up are an important and needed step. Reversing decades of rising economic inequality depends on it. Now, I would love to see stock buybacks end, because look, what it does is it basically inflates the stock market, and it makes companies look more healthy financially than they actually are. They're not making more sales. They're not doing more business. No, all they're doing is that they're puffing up their stock numbers, and then the executives, when they feel like they've had enough, they cash out. That doesn't help the company. It certainly doesn't help the workers, and it doesn't help the economy at large. So why are we allowing this system to continue? Money in politics. Do you know how much, by the way, in the first quarter of 2018, companies spent on stock buybacks? $178 billion. That is the first quarter of 2018. If they can afford to do stock buybacks, then they can afford to pay living wages and offer fair benefits. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.